I'm an addict. My name's Gary. Um, I thought a little bit about this to prepare a little bit, I guess, and one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about and just maybe give you a little bit of my history. I don't really want to get into a drug-a-log, but I've been to meetings. I got clean November 8th, 1992, and I've listened to a lot of people share stories and about people who did chemical substances, and they did this and they did that, and what I did was I didn't have a lot of money, and I lived in a very rural place, as some of you might have already heard. I lived in a very rural place, so a lot of the chemicals that were popular in the big city weren't available where I lived. So I ended up drinking, smoking pot, popping pills, and doing inhalants. And I did quite a bit of inhalants. I'm talking gasoline, I'm talking paint, I'm talking that sort of stuff. So when I come to NA, I was pretty blasted out. I didn't have a whole lot of memory. I didn't have a whole lot of memories of big, huge chunks of my life. I didn't have a whole lot of memory in my day-to-day life. When I got clean, it was 9,000 people lived in that town. It was my hometown. I'd lived there 20-something years. Learned how to drive in that town. I remember when they put in the first stoplight in that town, so I mean I knew it up, down, left, and right, so I thought, but I would get lost going to meetings. And I would remember pulling over and crying because I was on the wrong highway 10 miles away from where I needed to be because I had totally forgot where I was going and what was going on, and I was 23 years old. So I say all that to say that when it came, I know I come to NA and I had a lot of guilt, I had a lot of shame, and I didn't really know why. When I started to do my step work, I realized that, you know what, I really didn't do a whole lot of thieving, I didn't do a whole lot of stealing, I didn't do a whole lot of the things that some of us do, because a lot of it was that I got an opportunity to get clean really young. I got the message of Narcotics Anonymous and the message of recovery at an early age, so I was spared some of the darker paths that a lot of us had to walk, and I'm very grateful for that, very thankful for that, and it's because of Narcotics Anonymous that there are starting to be more and more people like me who's been spared the horrors. And I'm aware of that. I know what a gift that is, and the gift has been given to me from Narcotics Anonymous. And that's one of the things I like to share when I share in front of people, is I got clean young because of Narcotics Anonymous, because of people sharing, H&I, that sort of stuff. I was in a rehab, and NA came into that rehab and told me that I didn't have to live that way anymore. One of the problems was, and I said all that to lead you up to the topic, I had a lot of guilt and I had a lot of shame, and when it come to do amends, I didn't really have a whole lot of financial amends. I didn't have a whole lot of stuff like that. So my sponsor, one of the things he helped me do was, you hear a lot about indirect amends, but I do know that I didn't really have a whole lot to show when I come to NA. I'd never accomplished anything. I'd never finished anything. I'd started a whole bunch of stuff. I'd never had any type of completion. So I started doing H&I meetings. But one of the things that I did was I was lucky. I got my driver's license back within 6 months of getting clean, and I had a car. So I was giving people rides to meetings. And I would go down to the local rehabilitation center and pick clients up and take them to meetings. And I did that, and I felt good. I appreciated doing that. But at some point, I got a job, and I was working, and I was starting to earn some money. What I did was I gave people money, man. I'd give them rides to meeting, and I'd buy them cigarettes. I'd buy cigarettes by the carton, and I'd pass out. I wouldn't give people a cigarette. I'd give them a pack, And the thing was, at the time, that's what I needed to do, man. It made me feel really good about myself. And if you want to know the truth, I didn't really have a whole lot else to offer. I didn't really have a whole lot else to tell people. I certainly couldn't really tell you much about steps. I couldn't really tell you much about serenity or spirituality, because if you heard me share the other day, I was having my own problems. But one thing, I reached a point to where I got some clean time, had some years clean, and a guy started asking me to sponsor him. And what I didn't discover at that time, but what I have looking back, the only thing I had to offer these guys I was sponsoring was a ride to meetings, a pack of cigarettes, and take them out to dinner. I couldn't really do anything beyond that, and I was curious why these people never stayed clean. I'm serious. Never stayed clean. And I think that when I think about Carry the Message, Not the Addict, I still believe in giving people rides to meetings. I do that. But I moved to Florida. I had about 4 years clean, and then same thing happened, man. I moved down, and I would get this car packed with people. I'd go down to Salvation Army or the Turning Point or someplace, and I would pick up guys, and sometimes I would drive to their houses, halfway houses. I'd go to halfway houses, and I'd load my car up, and I'd take people to meetings, and I would end up sponsoring every one of the guys that would get in my car. You know, sponsor 5 guys in the car. A month later, all those guys were out on the street, and none of them got clean. And I got a new sponsor, and I had, I don't know, 6 years clean, and I'd done step work. You know, I'd done steps, I guess, but this man set me down and started with step 1, and he says, this is how you work the steps. And he said, this is something that, a problem that he had discovered in his own recovery and some other people, and him and a group of 4 or 5 people sat down with the NA text and with the It Works How and Why, and they said, we're going to figure out how to work these damn steps, and we are going to make a program where you do, and this is how you do steps. Because there was a lot of confusion in that, and if you're aware of what's been going on with the fellowship, we came out with a step working guide and a sponsorship book, and so it's kind of a worldwide issue that we've all kind of struggled with. Well, some of us have struggled with. So what that helped with me to do was that guy, his name's Michael, he taught me not only for me to work the steps, how I can work steps with the guys that I sponsor. And this is at about 6 years clean. I know that sounds a little embarrassing, and you know, but I really struggled in that area, man. And everybody say, oh, I got the greatest sponsor in the world, but they wouldn't stay clean because I didn't have that to offer them. I was their taxi service, and I was their money lender, and all these things in the book that it says not to do. I did it anyway, man. I didn't really know what else to offer these people. And so some of the guys I sponsored, and I started this process, and I'd go down to their halfway house, and we would sit down and we would do step work. Some of these guys still didn't make it, but they had marked changes in their outlook, man. And from that day forward, there's a couple of guys, Benny and Ricky. They never stayed clean, but man, they're hungry for it. And every time I see them come into the meetings, they rush over to me, man. And I started seeing a difference in the guys that I was sponsoring because I was giving them more than packs of cigarettes. I was giving them more than a ride to the meeting. I was sitting with them for hours at a time, helping them clean up their past and make an inventory. I knew when they asked me these questions, I knew what to tell them, you know. Then there was a guy, his name was Levinci, and I met him in a rehab, and well, he was in a mental hospital, and he had 2 other outside illnesses besides addiction. And nobody really wanted to touch him because he had trouble communicating, he couldn't really talk, and he was heavily medicated. And I just came up to him at the meeting and I said, do you have a sponsor? And he's like, yeah, I have a sponsor in AA. And I said, well, you've been coming to the NA meetings, would you like to have an NA sponsor? And he says, well, let me talk to my other sponsors. So he did, and he decided to use me as a sponsor. And I took Levinci, and this is the first time this has really ever happened to me. I worked him through steps 1 through 11. And Levinci fired me, and we kind of got into it, and I think he went back to go to AA meetings, but he's still clean to this day. He's still clean to this day. And he's probably the first guy that I have ever sponsored that went through, and he worked the most thorough step work that I have ever seen, man. I've never seen anybody do that. And I didn't really have nothing to do with it. All I knew was not when he came to me with questions, what do I do now? I had answers for him. And it was because I finally got a sponsor who did the same thing to me. When I came to him with questions, he had answers on demand. He's like, get your book, open it up to this page, and read this, you know, section. And when you're done with that, get the other book, pick it up to that page right there, and read right there. And that's what, when we talk about carrying the message, not the addict, I really feel like that's what it is. I'm to the point now where I'm married, and I got this job that it's quite demanding, and I like to be home now. I bought a house, and I've never owned a house before, and I like to be home, and I like to do these things. So I've kind of slacked off on giving people rides, and I don't smoke anymore, so I don't really give people cigarettes anymore. And now that I have somebody else that I have to, you know, that I help provide, you know, I don't really give out money too much anymore. But the one thing is that I've replaced that with is that now I have something else that's a whole lot better for newcomers and a whole lot better for people seeking recovery. I have something to give to them that was given to me that's beyond that. And but again, I would never knock giving people rides, man. And you know, if somebody calls me up and needs a ride to a meeting, I'll give them a ride to a meeting. I just don't volunteer as much, I guess, to do that. And I did that for a lot of years. Like I said, I've been clean for 12 years, and I probably spent 9, 10 years giving people rides to meetings and all that. But I'm also sponsoring another guy, and when I started sponsoring him, he already had multiple years clean and had went through the steps, but he was the same thing with me. Just didn't feel like he had a good enough grasp on the steps in order to sponsor people. And he had people coming to him to ask him to sponsor, and he really just didn't have answers for these people when they had questions. So we've been working together, and he just called me the other day, and I think we're up to his step 9. And he called me just the other day, and he says, I have my list finalized, and I'd like to get together and go over that with you. So, I mean, I tell you what, it feels a whole lot better to be able to give that to somebody than it does to give them a pack of cigarettes and a ride. I mean, I really feel like that's a gift that we as addicts can give that other people can't give, because anybody can give somebody a pack of cigarettes. You know what I mean? Anybody can give somebody a ride. But we have an opportunity here to give somebody something that you can't get nowhere else. You can't get that nowhere else. And I shared that the other day. When I come to Narcotics Anonymous, I got something here that I could not get nowhere else. And it didn't take me very long to figure that out. I think I figured that out within a day or two, was that the people that I had met and was talking to, they had something to give to me that nobody else could give. They said things to me that nobody had ever said to me. And when I lied to them, they knew it immediately. They had heard all the stories. They had heard all the, they had heard it all. And you guys know that. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know. That's probably why we're all sitting here today. Is that this is something I like to tell people outside of, because a lot of people, everybody at work knows that I'm a recovering addict. That's just the way that's been my deal from the very beginning. I started chipping brush for Asplin Tree Service when I got clean, making $5 an hour. So, I walked right up to that guy and says, I'm a recovering addict, I need a job. And he hired me, and that's the way it's been with me and my employers ever since. That's the first thing I tell them. I go in there wearing my NA shirt, and I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. That means I'm a recovering addict, and you need to know that up front before you hire me. And I've never been turned down for a job, ever. And this is a lot of these jobs in Arkansas and in the South where people kind of frown on that sort of stuff, but nobody's ever held that against me. And I've never let anybody down, so far with the disease, because of the disease. But one of the things is people ask me, about NA. What is NA? Can't you, don't you need to stop going to those meetings at some point? Aren't you cured? Aren't you done? And we've all heard that before. But what I tell people about NA, and this is one of the best things that I know of, is that there is no other authority on addiction than you find right here. There is no greater authority. I probably know more about the disease of addiction than any PhD out there who's not in recovery. I want to make sure that. And that's just me. I'm just one person. But you take all the people in this room, the wealth of information in here about the disease of addiction, it's pretty mind-expanding. It's pretty incredible. And if you sit and think about that, because a lot of times we sit in meetings and we don't really stop to think, at least I don't stop to think about a whole lot of stuff. My brain's always going on and on and on. But sometimes when I stop and think about that, it almost gives me cold chills to realize that as long as I stay in here and shoulder to shoulder with these people, because one of my tendencies is I stay clean longer is to maybe back off a little bit. I'm going to stay home tonight and watch my TV and play with my dog and, and maybe not go to a meeting tonight. But one of the things is that when I go to a meeting and I immerse myself into what's going on, that's the single most powerful thing against drug addiction that has ever been known on planet Earth. Out of the millions of years that humans have walked this planet, man, there's really been nothing else. And it gets stronger every day. And I don't know what the word for it is but the message that we have, it's a big message. Because there's so many people here that has a piece of the puzzle. And that's another thing that I thought about when I was thinking about what I was going to share, was that I have to be really careful to let the guys that I sponsor and let people know in meetings that I don't got all the answers, man, And I encourage, that's one of the things in our sponsorship families, we encourage, don't just work with your sponsor, work with your grand sponsor, work with your stepbrothers, man. Talk about this stuff among yourselves. Don't take my word for it. Use those books, man. Check up on me. Make sure I'm not filling you full of crap, because I've been known to do that from time to time. Don't rely just on me, because I've got my own problems, and and I'll lead people astray. That's the truth. Because I have a propensity to be grandiose from time to time, and I come in here, walking 12 foot tall, even though I didn't have doodly squat. I didn't have nothing. But that's another part, is that for me, when I carry the messages to people I sponsor, and again, when I think of carrying the message, I think of working with newcomers a lot more than not. And that is, that's the whole idea, a meeting a day for the first 90 days. Is so that you get out there. It forces, you can't just go to the same meeting. You have to go to different meetings. You have to be around other people. That forces you to get around and hear. And one thing that I come from Florida, it's about 1,000 miles. Come up here, guess what? The message is the same. The meeting formats is the same. The prayers are the same. And people are the same. The faces are different. But what I heard at that workshop the other day and at the speaker meetings I've been to, the message that I heard is identical to the message I heard in Arkansas and the message I've heard in Tennessee, in Texas, in Florida. It's the same message. And the only reason that works, the only way that works, is that NA uses the traditions, and we have all these service levels. And I'm telling you, man, I've been involved in service ever since I've been clean for 12 years, and people are adamant about keeping that message clean, keeping it available, making sure that it's available, going into jails, into prisons, into mental hospitals, into rehabilitation centers, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. That doesn't happen by accident. I'm just one small little person among, I don't know, what do you reckon our membership is now? You reckon it's up to 1 million? I don't know. Hundreds of thousands of people working to carry this message. And this is something else, and I'll turn it over. But this is something that I heard a long time ago, man, and that is, you talk about carrying the addict. It's okay to pick them up, but at some point you got to put them down. You know what I mean? It's okay to pick people up, because people literally pick me up. I have collapsed and fell down in a blubbering mass of tears at a meeting, and people had to physically pick me up and set me back down in my chair, and that's been done. It's been done more than once. Gary can turn into a blubbering idiot. But I don't need nobody to carry me, man. But sometimes I do need people to hold me up and pick me up. And that's something that NA has always been there to do for me, man, is to pick me up and to, jostle me up in front of, when we line up in that circle, man, and I got a shoulder on this side and I got a shoulder on this side. A lot of times, man, that's really all I need, man, is to know, because I come here, like I said, when I first started, man, I never accomplished anything. I started a lot of things. I never finished nothing. But in here, man, I'm a part of something a lot bigger than me, and it's bigger than us. It's bigger than this group of people. It's bigger than this camp out. It's bigger than this state. It's bigger than this country. It's very big, and it's, and I think that we have done very well as a fellowship to keep our message clean, to keep it the same, and to help, carry the message. It's the purity of our message is very good. I think so, and that's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you.
Family, I'm an addict. My name is Maria.
Hi, Maria.
First, I want to thank God for another day clean, allowing me to make it to Camp Mac again, another day clean. And I want to ask God to please stop me from shaking. They give me this topic. Let me say how grateful I am. First, just for the day, because the more I talk, a lot of times I get off into the negativity, the disease creeps in, and my gratitude might not show. So a lot of times it's like to start off saying I'm grateful, because later on it might sound like I'm not, because I'm a chronic complainer. Always finding something wrong. I'm real grateful my sponsor is here with me, Avis, and my sponsor, Karen. And I was thinking about how when I got in the rooms and I asked Karen to sponsor me, it was like one of them things that she's not going to have to carry me. I'm going to follow her. I'm going to watch her, because y'all told me that, watch somebody, see what they doing, go home with her, call cat, come over, and somebody working the program. And Avis was the same with me when I started sponsoring her. It was one of them people, I didn't have to stay in her butt. Matter of fact, she made me work. And I'm grateful for that, because throughout this process, I've had quite a few people that I have tried to carry. I've had addicts come spend the night on my floor till 6 in the morning, say, I just don't want to use, Maria. Then call me back at 10 and they in the dope house. Now I got an attitude. You kept me up all damn night and you was going to use anyway, but it says we can carry the message, which our message is a message of hope, and there's only one. That's any addict can lose a desire to stop using and find a new way to live. That's it. The message doesn't change. Sometimes I can only do that by my actions, because this is a program of attraction. I can tell somebody about this all day long. I can try to carry them all day long. And when I was sitting there, I was thinking, I don't try no more. I contemplate on what I'm going to share, how I'm going to share it. Because one thing I do before I talk is I ask God to guide me. And a lot of times that shit I done prepared is out the window anyway. Because I'm going to prepare some stuff to make me look and sound good. Then some of y'all, I talk about following the addict around. Some of y'all following me. So you said, but you're not doing that, So I try to be real careful and ask God to guide me through everything concerning Narcotics Anonymous. No, I'm not perfect. I still make a lot of mistakes. But I'm thinking about carrying the addict. And I was thinking about last year when I got here, it was right after my younger brother had died. And I remember telling him, man, you need to tell a doctor to get you off all that morphine and Vicodins and stuff you're taking. He was like, I'm nothing wrong with me. I need this stuff. But I'm watching him puke up green stuff. Same symptoms I had when I needed a blow, going through the withdrawal. And I'm steady telling him, man, don't let them keep cutting you out that hospital like that. He says, I'm not an addict. I need this stuff. I'm not an addict, but I'm watching this whole process. But knowing that I can't beat this into anybody, I'm watching my baby brother constantly get addicted to all these drugs because of the pain he's in. And the only thing I could do was still be an example. Not preach, not judge, but be an example and try to walk this walk. Because people watch me. There's not a whole lot I can say to people that's still using. The message is a message of hope. And that's still a lot of times only through attraction. There's not a whole lot I can tell, because couldn't nobody tell me nothing when I was using. I knew my sponsor before I got clean. And I used to share this and I quit. I said, I know she get tired of hearing it, but I'm going to tell y'all. She was connected to my family in some kind of way, right? And whenever we had a family gathering, she would always come. And I said, why the hell she come? She don't do nothing. Like something wrong with her, right? I said, why they keep inviting Miss Goody Two-Shoes? Party pooper. And it didn't have nothing to do with her. It was my own guilt because I was so messed up. It was like, how do somebody really live like that? How does she not get high and come to these parties and enjoy herself? And then get in a new car and drive away when I'm always getting thrown down the steps. Because I was one of them people they put out. The party was over yesterday, can you go? You can leave now. We'll do it again next year, maybe. But we're not going to tell you. So I watched her when I got in the rooms, and I immediately knew I wanted her to sponsor me. And the pain of the pain of what the disease had done to me by the time I got here, y'all didn't have to tell me but once. Make 90 means 90 days. Get a sponsor and use. I didn't have to hear that. See, because I'm a firm believer in your process of recovery depends a whole lot on how bad your ass was whooped. Mine was whooped bad. You said, go here, go there, I did it. Do this, I did it. I got a sister who me and her drank together for years. To this day, she always said, well, I'm not an alcoholic. One day, she asked me, she said, do you think I'm an alcoholic? I said, what do you think? Now, mind you, this is my sister next to me. She's been watching me since I've been here. My sister got 5 years clean. Yeah. Mind you, she still says she's not an alcoholic. I just quit drinking because I said if you could stop doing all that stuff you was doing, I knew I could put this liquor down. I said, okay, whatever. I'm just proud that she did. That's an example. That's the example. It wasn't about preaching. Because I said, couldn't nobody tell me nothing. Now let me come up to date. I've been telling y'all, some of y'all all weekend about this new relationship I'm in. Here we go. Then I got this topic. Well, my girlfriend doesn't like to make a lot of meetings. I'm constantly saying, come on, we can go. I don't like that one. I don't like the people over there. And I want to say real bad, you just don't like you at this point. Now, I've always had this thing. First, let me get honest. I started off sponsoring this young lady. That didn't last long. In the process of sponsoring her, the other stuff happened. I'm not going to say it just happened. Shit don't just happen with me. I got a plan. You know how somebody always say, it just happened. You don't just take your clothes off. They don't just fall off. And, you fall on top of somebody. It just happened. But anyway, me and this young lady, in the beginning, you say, okay, well, I'm going to give you what I have, what they've so freely given to me. We're going to study the steps because now we stuck in the bedroom. So we're going to at least study a step before we go to bed. That shit lasted about a week. Now I'm dealing with this disease that I have and the ego that goes along with it. So now I'm your sponsor, I'm your lover, I'm your everything, and we can really just do this right here. Now I'm coming on 9 years clean. I done heard y'all say, Maria, not the newcomer. For years I said it. Anybody mess with newcomers because their self-esteem is low. Give them a chance. How dare you? If God sent them there like he did you, who are you to fuck up their life? I preached. Check people in Detroit at me. Man, leave her alone. How you going to act? What's wrong with you? Now here I am. Here I am telling her what meetings are good for her. Mind you, I'm not on my schedule no more. Okay? You can go over there and get you some help. You can do this. She says, matter of fact, I tell you what, I'll just go with you and then I won't go if you don't go. Cool. Now here I am again. Now I'm trying to carry the addict. Because see, on this side I say, well, hell, I ain't going to be bothered with you no way. If you use, I don't be bothered, you better stay clean. Guess what? She ain't the only one can use. And she definitely not going to want to be bothered with me if I pick up. Talking about turned into something ugly. I already know. I'm going to run, I'm going to hide, I'm going to be too afraid to come back here because I don't want them good sharing. So I'm not coming back. So I think it's best that I just start back doing the things I was doing in the beginning so I don't have to leave. And you know what? I can do her the same way I did my brother and sister. Just be an example. Same way I do Calvin in the neighborhood. The damn near lost his arm a couple months ago from shooting dope in it. And every day I see him now, he look at me, I look at him. He like, what? You ain't gonna ask me to go to a meeting? I said, no, I'm tired of asking you. When you get ready, you'll ask me. And I'll be more than happy to take you. I did that in the beginning of my recovery. I said I went to treatment. I said, well, I'm going to get out of treatment. I'm going to get me a watchtower and a wake. So they won't bother me. See, because every time I went to treatment, I got out, I head to my mother's house, and I could never make it to her house. Because all my sane people was right there. Although the drugs was right. I could never make it down this one block. Now I go down the block. And you know how when you get clean out, then people want to say, oh, you think you better. You going to meetings, huh? Yeah, buddy. You want to keep your lawnmowers, don't you? You want to keep your stereo equipment out in the yard when you're having a picnic. What happened to the music? Damn, she must be out of treatment. And for a long time, I took Calvin to meetings with me. I come on, man, come on, get this. Because, we got that circle, and I'm one of them people that personalize people when we get in that circle. Be like, damn, if he can just get here. At the end of the meeting, at the Serenity Prayer, we say we pray for somebody, but I always just pick somebody out. And I pray for all of us and myself, but there's one person I'm always got in my mind. I'm like, if he could just get here. If he could just get here. So the other day when I was coming here, you know, I looked at him, the arm hanging off. And I'm thinking, you know, he's still not done. But I couldn't judge that because I think about all the things that happened to me out there. You know, you would think after some broken ribs, knocked out teeth, broken nose, being raped, I would say that's enough, but it wasn't. And people were saying, you know what, you got a problem. You need to go get some help. And I was like, you know what, no. Just like the book talks about, I'm fine. The world is effed up. Y'all just don't understand. You know, and then I went to treatment and I heard this word I had never heard. It said dysfunctional. I grabbed a hold of that. I said, you're right, my people were dysfunctional. Look what they did to me. Okay, it's mama's fault now, right? Daddy's fault now, right? You know what, to be honest with you, I don't know if they were dysfunctional or not. I don't care. I know the choices I made on my own. Because they did the best that they could. You know, they did this. Don't go down there. I see, yeah, right. You know, you need not visit them people 2 doors down. It's like, what? You okay? And that's the first place I went. The very first place I went, everywhere they said don't. I said, yeah, okay, they don't know what they're talking about. I have a 21-year-old daughter, 3-year-old grandson. I carry the message every day. You know, one of my nieces told my daughter a couple weeks ago, so you know what? Your mama might not get high, she's still crazy. Saying, she need to quit drinking all that coffee, maybe. She just... My daughter said, let me tell you something. If that's all my mama do, y'all leave her alone. I'm just so grateful. That's a relationship I didn't break up. It's something about a little girl's love for their mama. And she, you know what? She's the one I call when I'm here. I don't want to call in for the drama. I call somebody that says, you know, I'm glad to hear from you. You having fun? Because I was supposed to bring my grandson. At the last minute, she's like, Mom, hold up, that's your trip. You go ahead on. I said, you right, because I'd probably send that nigga with somebody else. You know, but it's a blessing. My sponsor now, you know, we got these little grandkids now. You know, and I'm talking about a person who never thought they'd live long enough to be a grandparent or even be the age that I am. I always share this. When I was young and Prince said, we're going to party like it's 1999. I said, he crazy as hell. Who's going to be living then? Because I didn't think I would. I didn't. Every time he sung that record, I was like, ain't nobody going to be living in 99. And here it is, 2005, I made it. And God is good. I'm not turning my time in for nothing, nobody. And I found out lately that I can keep trying to carry the addict if I want to, and I mess around and get lost with the addict. Because it says we carry the message to the addict who still suffers. Some people enjoy suffering. Misery still loves company. I still got a disease that'll bring something to me in the form of a pretty face and tell me it's my gift. They gonna help you walk this walk. How somebody with 7 months clean gonna help me walk this walk? They can help me talk the talk. And then, you know, I get caught up and want to be her sponsor still. Not just that, I want to be her everything. I mess around and go in the book and pick a sentence out and show it to her, and then I'll twist it. Close the book real quick. That's what it say. You just seen it. I'm talking about still being cunning, manipulating, still just want stuff always to go my way. Suffer from inferiority complex, but seek out others I can feel superior over. Especially when it comes to narcotics anonymous, because I really think I know some shit. I don't know too much. Half the time, to be honest with you, I don't even know when I'm powerless. It's usually till my ass is whooped real bad. I need to surrender. Because the surrendering process is not easy for me. I don't know about y'all. It takes a lot out of me. Because I got to try to fix it first. Analyze it, go another direction around this whole situation. When I'm done, I'd have made a whole nother problem. It just like the dope. It usually when I'm beaten, then I'm willing to surrender whatever it is. I just love, when I come to Camp Mac, it gives me an opportunity to really open up. To get honest, I got friends here. I got Kim, I got Sarah. I look forward to seeing these people. Because to be real, sometimes I be so messed up in the head, I be like, I ain't going to Camp Mac this year. Anybody ready for no peace? I like this. I'm stuck in right now. I get there, Kim gonna say something. Well, Maria. And that little soft voice, like the lady was on here, you got to lean in and listen. Yeah. Should be so profound. You be like, damn, she should have just yelled at me. And then Sarah with the big smile. And just everybody look forward to seeing Lisa. Lisa got the nerve to be late for me. Better come and get this table rolling, girl. No. No, it's just the people. I look forward to coming here. And I was so tired this weekend. I had to be real careful. You know what? I'm just tired, Karen. But my disease trying to convince me that I'm depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm happy to be living. Because every day I wake up, I think about how blessed I am, how grateful I am, because God didn't have to do this for me. I still say that every day. I mean, anytime he came in, hand-picked my scurvy ass out of the pits of hell and said, I got something better for you to do. I think you deserve living if you don't. This some stuff here. I ain't never did nothing for 9 years. I ain't think I went to school that damn long. I didn't. I came out of school in the 9th grade. I was like, school? And then most of the people that I was getting high with in school, that's the only reason I went, was getting high with in school. They was eventually kicked out, and I'm just there. So when the dope was gone, I was gone. I don't need school. The same disease. So you don't need a job at Chrysler. Who needs a car and a refrigerator? This disease is something else. It's something deep. Some days it's more scarier. Some days it can sneak up on and just scare the hell out of me. Because I'll be like, where are we going now? Which way are we going? Because between the disease and my own thinking, I be so confused. My girlfriend always says, Maria, you don't have to go ask everybody everything. I said, girl, yes, I do. I bet you better let me, too. She said, you just ask people all the time decisions you should make for yourself. I listen to her sometimes. Be like, you right, I shouldn't ask them nothing, should I? They don't know, do they? I'm the one that don't know and need to know. Need to keep asking y'all. What do you think about this? Because this puppy here, I'm sabotage mode right now. It's something deep down inside of me that still says, I'm so grateful that God loves me because I don't know if anybody else ever will. I'm so grateful for my daughter and my grandson because they might be the only real relationships I'll ever have. Because I done got past the part of being horny and just want, I'm 47 years old. Look, time out for that shit. I had to put that ego to sleep, too. I can't keep up like I thought I could. I just talk about the ego. I don't want to go to the meeting. And she was saying, girl, she wasn't all that for real. Don't waste your time. She just looked like that. So, so it's one of the things. I'm having fun in recovery. I have a lot of fun. I really do. And as a result, a lot of people say, you don't want to think, Maria, recovery is serious. It's serious. I take it very serious. If I didn't, I wouldn't still be here. That's for sure. But y'all didn't tell me I couldn't have fun. You know what I'm saying? I was miserable for years. 32 of them. And the longer I stay here, it seems like they keep getting longer. I said, damn, I did that then. You get to working the steps, you get to pulling stuff out. Be like, well, shit, I wasn't but 8. Then y'all gonna tell me I stopped growing in. You come on. I'm 8. And then when I try to get some acceptance with them, just still this very immature person, but I'm really trying to grow up, right? Then Ashley and them looking for me. The young lady came yesterday, I never seen before. She says, your name Maria? I said, yes. She said, your daughter? And so I said, I don't have any kids out here. They're looking, this kid said they're looking for you. I'm like, they want to play with me. They do. And I'm thinking, I ain't finna play with them, but what a blessing, for real. There's a time kids didn't want to be bothered with me. Nobody. I was the one the kids moved out the way and say, here she come. Y'all better move, she gonna be stinking. For real. Telling my daughter, well, don't your mama ever bathe? But getting back to carrying the message, not the addict. I've tried it. It don't work. I tried to carry an addict. She was so messed up. I got messed up with her. Because I talked about the addict that laid on my floor, right? I'm on the floor with her. She said, Maria, I'm having a hard time doing this stuff. I said, me too. Sometimes I think it's just not worth it. It's just not meant for, everybody's not meant for Narcotics Anonymous. I said, I heard that. I got up off that floor. You can stay there if you want to. That's just how tricky my disease is. Easy to feed off into somebody else's shit. I already suffer from multiple personalities. You sad, I'm sad. You know what I'm saying? You happy, I'm happy. How we gonna act today? Yesterday when I was in this workshop and the day before they were sharing about their brothers, I had to get up and leave. See, last year when I was here, my brother had just died, probably a month. I was still in that, how you be in that state you want to call it, oh no, I got acceptance. I understand. God spared me. He prepared me for this. Acceptance is a thin line between acceptance and denial. I got all this acceptance. He's not suffering in it. This is all fine. It's the truth. It's the truth. Only thing I did was push that pain back. Because I miss my brother. I miss my best friend. I miss the guy that says, hey, you going back out there to that retreat? Yeah, I'm going with you 1 year. I miss that. I miss people saying, hey, twin. Miss Miles. Hey, I had a name. He always called me his damn name. I miss that. And I question the fact all the time is what if I had stepped up and gave him that kidney earlier? What if only? It wasn't meant to be. The operation was due to be April 24th. He died April the 12th. So a lot of time I want to look at it and say, well, Maria, God knows that you weren't able to do it probably. And it wouldn't have made a difference probably. It doesn't take away the pain. This is I thought when my father died, that was the most painful thing. I came here and I told y'all, every time I run the camp mag. But this has got to be the most painful thing I've ever felt in my life. Just like yesterday when y'all was talking about I had to get out of here. And it's not that I don't want nobody to see me cry. It's just sometimes I be so afraid if I break down, I'm not coming back up. Because I still think about all the shit that I did, all the drugs. And I'm not saying I wanted to die, but I'm talking about a guy who the biggest thing on him gave out, his heart. I'm talking about now, even I can't, certain things I may not talk about with my sponsor or my friend, Avis, and my sponsee. I could tell him. So I got all this stuff I'm grieving. My best friend, my confidant, my brother. I go to meetings and people say, Maria, come on, get back to your happy-go-lucky self. You know, that's life. And I allow people to stop the grieving process for me. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it, but I go home dying inside. And I try to go on and say, you know, all these other things are happening. I got a new job. I got a new girlfriend. There's a lot of firsts happening in my life this year. And I'm very, very grateful. Don't get me wrong. But to be honest, I haven't been able to really stop and say, you know, smell the roses. But I know I'm gonna. Probably after I leave here. Something about here. This is the cleansing process for me. I know one thing. Even through that pain, I didn't have to use. Y'all told me a long time ago, I'm ridding myself of all reservations. All. Because before I got here, Karen, that was one. What am I going to do if some of my people die? God said, you're going to keep living. Because those people were glad my ass was clean. My brother looked up at me on that way to the operating room. He said, you just keep doing it, baby. I said, I see you back on the block. He like, yeah. Then I struggle with that. I said, I love you. I struggle with the fact that I said, damn, I'm going in and hug all them people. And Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't even reach down and hug my brother. But he still know, he know that I love him, whether I hugged him or not. My daughter said, Mama, you gave him fire. That's what y'all do. Yeah. And I watched this man take all these drugs, which he needed. And if anybody I could have wished, but see, he said he wasn't an addict, and he might not have been. I don't know. I'm too busy. I got to stay clean. But I remember how I prayed for, because even after he would go in the hospital and they fixed the cancer, they fixed the bile tract, they did all this. Basically, he was still sick every day from the drugs. And I think 42 years old. And not just that, I heard from my mother. And I just, you know what, see, this is why I don't like to even venture into this part, because this shit, it gets overwhelming. I'd rather not even talk about it right now. Because I said it first, I share my gratitude in the beginning because I am very grateful. Very grateful. A lot of times I laugh and joke because I don't want to get to the pain. But I know just for today, y'all, I'm going to continue to be an example. I'm going to continue to carry the message by not using. And I'm going to keep coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing. Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everybody that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know so the tape can be turned off. Open the floor.
Hi, family. I'm Bob. I'm a grateful recovering addict. Maria, did you leave a spider up here? Leaving me presents. Carrying a message. I'm a good one for carrying it in the good ways and the bad ways. And, it was explained to me that sometimes the still suffering addict is not a newcomer. And the reason it was explained to me was one time I was at a meeting and a gentleman had, I don't know, about 17 or 18 years was having a bad day, which, we do around here. And, I offered to let him use one of my motorcycles, and he lit up like a Christmas tree. He forgot all about those problems. And he's the one that told me later on that, the still suffering addict doesn't have to be the newcomer. That, we can come around here and talk about all that stuff that Maria was talking about and still be sick with lots of years clean. He's also the one that told me that helping a newcomer is not helping yourself to a newcomer. That the only time that we're supposed to look down upon somebody is when we're helping them up. And, all that sounds real good. All those cliches are real nice. And I like to tell you that, I always act that way, but the truth is I don't. With some clean time, I was at this spiritual retreat up in Higgins Lake, Michigan, and, listened to all the speakers, all that good stuff that was coming out of their mouth, and got back down to Detroit and went to a Monday morning meeting and beat somebody's ass right in the meeting. I was all spiritual. So, I can go to stupid real quick. And it doesn't have to be through violence. Like Maria was talking about, I can manipulate the most, just any situation, as long as there's a benefit in it for me. Because I like that instant gratification, and it usually comes at someone else's expense. So, I need to watch what message that I'm really carrying out there. Because I can come in here and tell you all this good sharing stuff. I got Jesus in my pocket and all that crap, and then walk out there and act like a fool. And what's the message? Message is, you're not going to want to be like me. And I don't know what your cake recipe is. Maybe it's different than mine. I believe today, we come around here and talk about the third step. If it's truly His will to do what I'm doing, there's a message here, and it may not be for you to act that way, because there's a lot of people around here with a lot more clean time who I don't want to be like in certain areas. So, sometimes I just need to be awake and aware and look around and see that, what is the message? Is it okay to lay down next to somebody that really doesn't have a fighting chance yet? You know what I mean? Like someone in treatment or just got out of treatment, or, just for instant gratification because I don't want to do the work to look at me. That's the problem. I don't want to look at me. As long as I'm working your program, I don't need to work one. And I did that for the first over 4 years of coming around here. And I brought her up here, and last night when the main speaker was getting ready to speak and we were reading the readings and they were talking about there's one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. I truly believe it's relationships. Okay? I don't just say that for a joke. I believe it because I've seen it take so many people out of here. All right? What's the message? Do I want to be that way? That same gentleman said to me one day, how many are you going to kill? And that hurt. Because it's true. Helping the newcomer is not helping yourself to the newcomer. And, I'm just as guilty as everyone else. Instant gratification. You know, they didn't teach me that stuff when I was down on Gratiot at McClellan, Maria. All right? What I've learned since coming in here is the core of my disease is not self-centeredness. It's self-hatred. People who do to themselves what we do to ourselves really don't like ourselves. People who sit on milk crates until your ass says Dairy Maid, smoke antennas, and stick spikes in every part of your body really don't like yourself. And it's a process of coming to know who you are so that you can like yourself. Because I'm useless to anyone else until I'm good to myself. You know, them feelings that we talk about, you know, emotions that I can't identify, you know, just reveals to me that there's a lot more work that needs to be done before I'm going to be of any use to anybody else. You know, I don't want to come up here without her on my arm, whoever the victim happens to be this month. You know what I mean? Because everyone else over there at the Crazy Lodge, you know, they brought a victim with them. You know, I feel left out. You know, I'm being honest. You know, I feel less than. And that's what I'm good at, is feeling less than or better than. Because if we're equal, then I belong here. You know, that's my disease. It sneaks up in various ways. You know, tells me that I'm not worthy of standing up here in front of you. If you really knew who I was, you'd be walking out the door. You know, I keep a letter in my book to remind me who I am. Because you get a little couple of miracles strung together in a row, and you think you know something, you know, and you start puking all over the table about what you know instead of acting it, you know. And this letter in my book is a subtle reminder. You know, it's a friend of mine who I ran with out there, and he's down in Atlanta, compliments of the federal government. You know, he's doing 4 lives plus 80 years. That's all day. That's all day. He'll never, ever see daylight. What do you tell somebody who writes to you who's never going to get out? You know, we're having a good time at Camp Mac. Wish you were here. You know? What do you tell him? The difference between him and I is grace. That's all. I'm here and he's there. Why? I don't have a clue. I didn't do anything different, you know. So the message is, for me, you know, and I don't understand the feelings associated with it. When I do the right thing, I still feel like a punk. I still feel like a punk inside. I don't know why. You know, I still feel like a punk. But I still do it. Because I know what the wrong thing's going to get me. You know, I go to a treatment center every Monday night to see what the wrong thing gets people. I go to funerals all the time, see what the wrong thing gets them. I haven't found anything yet that if I put dope on, it's going to get any better. And there's been a lot of times in here where I wanted to put some dope on something because, you know, that young lady who I drug around here for 4 years, yeah. You know, she found that young stud that just got out of treatment. I know that's hard to believe. But walking into a meeting and seeing her there, I was homicidal and suicidal, all right, at the same time. Going to kill everybody and then shoot myself. But I didn't. You know, he caught 8 to 20. He's back where he belongs. Unfortunately, she's back out using. You know, I couldn't work her program for her, much as I tried. You know, because I told her what meetings to go to also, Maria. You know, because I could show her off. Told her what step to work, but I wasn't working any. And, you know, when she calls today, my first gut instinct, I was talking about this earlier today, because she calls me about once a month or once every other month now, just to let me know she's still alive, throw them darts. And first instinct is to say, I guess I wasn't so fucking bad after all. But I don't. I tell her, when you're ready to come back, call me. I'll bring you to a meeting. And she's got a good support system. You know what I mean? She just chooses not to use it. Because the shame and guilt that you talked about of coming back in here, after sitting here talking all that good shit, it keeps people out there a lot longer than they need to be. I see it all the time. We bury them because they can't get humble enough to come back here and say, I made a mistake. What's the message? Message is, you said, any addict can lose a desire and find a new way to live. If a dope fiend like me can do it, anybody can do it. It's not easy, though. It's hard work. I don't want to come up here and tell you that I'm insecure, that I'm immature, that I don't know how to treat women, all right? But if I don't, I know what's coming down the pike. I'm going to use again. I've got 3 older brothers all dead from this disease. 26 ex-club brothers all dead from this disease. It's taken bigger people than me, all right? Handsomer people than me. I know that's hard to believe. Richer people, poorer people. It doesn't discriminate. We all know that. I'm just one bad decision away. One bad decision. If I keep coming around here doing what I'm supposed to do, hopefully I won't make that decision. But, what's the message? What am I carrying out there? In here it's easy to talk all this good stuff. But carry it out there and don't sock somebody. You know what I mean? Don't shoot somebody. Benny. Old man Benny came up to me afterwards and put his arm around me and said, Bob, I see growth. I said, what do you mean, Benny? He says, well, he ain't laying in the parking lot with a hole in him. And it's true. I'm real good at kicking my ass. I can do that better than all you put together. I was listening to that tape by Tom Brady Jr., Emotional Sobriety. If you've never heard it, pick a copy up because, at 31 years clean, he made this tape, and at 26 years clean, he was contemplating suicide because what he was talking up here wasn't what he was walking out there. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to let you into my mind, to let you know what sick thoughts are still going on up there, because maybe you might be able to help me. But, we're not mind readers. You got to let us in. I'm just as sick of those secrets. Thanks.
All right, you doing, Karen? I'm at what I'm at again. What I like about Camp Mac, that you got to come from the inside, because the outside it ain't what it's about up here, and it's easy, like the crying stuff, and I appreciate about this fellowship that we go inside. I got up here because I had a little cousin, he had an accident, he dead. He died all of a sudden, he was living in the daytime, and at night he was dead. His mother is sick, from it. And everybody was come over when we was sitting on the porch in, one of them old neighborhoods on like Linwood and stuff like that. Been living in the neighborhoods 40 years, you know everybody. What can we get you? You need anything? You want some Martell? That's all they was bringing. And if any, I guess we talking about carrying the message. See, it was once upon a time, her little cousin was the worst thing. I would come on the street drunk as hell. Everybody's booty was gripped. You know what I mean? Even grandma, she was looking good because I was just that damn drunk. You know what I mean? I'm serious, man. I was a damn disgrace. And I noticed how all of them was looking at me. I come over there in my little church suit. Yeah, I go to church. Jesus ain't in my pocket. He inside. See, had my little suit on. and they looking at me and say, they just can't figure it out, you know. And I ain't over there talking about NA, I ain't talking about church, I ain't talking about nothing. I'm just standing there looking after my cousin. But they know something different than happened with me from the years they had seen me, you know. And that's the best thing that I can do for all these people is be the example. See what I'm saying? To be just to be there. Just to be right there for her. And I was one, they kept saying, what do you need? She need a spiritual lift. Ain't no Martell. And all of them was coming, you know, because we all had jobs back then, you know, and everybody, you know, our kids is like 26 or maybe some of us got kids 28, the older ones, something like that. And we had jobs back then when we was like 20, 21, 22. So we got seniority on our job now. So now we big shots and shit, you know what I mean? Some of them got, what you call them, big old Jeeps, H2s or whatever. The Hummers and shit. They coming up there with the Heineken. You know, we doing some real serious here. I'm saying this ain't shit. But you know what? God say, shut your goddamn mouth. Don't you say nothing. You just be an example for your cousin and for your people. And that's all I can do. You know, because I wanted to get up in the funeral and say some things. You know what I mean? But maybe, you know, like you say, we ain't got it going on. Shut your goddamn mouth. And just be grateful what God done for you. And let them see. You know, it ain't about me talking no stuff. You know, let them see what God done for you. You know what I'm saying? You guys say, I'm doing this. I'm doing it. You ain't got to say a word. And that's carrying the message to me. And as far as in relationships, them girls used to tell me, well, I mean, there's one lady, I had all girlfriends when I came into the program because they said I was nice, but they didn't know I was scared as hell. I wanted to flip them bad, but I didn't want them to say no. That would have just killed me. Talking about suicide. So I ain't asked nobody for none. My wife, the lady I'm married to, had to throw me on the floor. She thought I was one of them guaranteed. She thought I was one of them Jerry Springer guys who really a woman. You know what I mean? You know, walking around here like a guy. So she was like, give me. You think I'm kidding? My wife, truthful, she would tell you. And I was like, I'm saved. I was holding on like I had breasts or something. And cause shit, I didn't want. Hey, it took me. I was high when I got my first stuff, and I was drinking out my girlfriend's daddy's liquor. You know, so I ain't never had nothing. You know, I was yeah. So these little fine women was with me because they know I was scared as hell. And they kept the vultures off me because I had a little job. Now, y'all that took all my money. I would have gave it to you, too. And they kept them off me. So when it was time for a girl, when I finally felt my Cheerios, and it was okay to be in recovery and things like this, this one girl lady, she had like a year. And I was like, come on. Her name was Lena. Anyway, I was calling, you know, have you ever heard of Lena Horne? I was calling her Lena Horny. Come on, Lena Horny, you know, we're going to do something, you know. And you know what she did? She said, Edwin, don't do me like that. I'm a newcomer. I just want to make it. I said, damn, how come I got to get the old basket cases and shit? How come you can't be some damn hoe and shit and off Woodward Avenue or something? They're just talking about come on with it and all that. She wasn't. So that's what kept me in the pro. And well, see, God was saving me. That's what I'm seeing happen now. He was saving me. He wasn't saving them. See, because all she had to do was give somebody else some. Suicide. You see what I'm saying? I am grateful for the program. See, and because it made me grow up. And it took a preacher who crazy as hell to tell me that I was lustful. That I'm lusting. I'm thinking, okay, I got plenty of clean time. He told me that I lust. And I'm looking at him like, me? Lust? I want to say, do you know how much clean time I got? He said, boy, you lust so much it just oozes out your socks. You see what I'm saying? You don't fool nobody. You see what I'm saying? But see, what that did for me is make me deeply and more carefully take a look at who I am. Hell yeah, I lust. But but the good part is I don't want to hurt nobody. See what I'm saying? So when I can identify with my lust and my bad points and my, you know, like I said, that inventory. I got a good part. I don't want to hurt nobody, but yeah, I want to do some devilish shit, you know. But, you know, you get a little balance and say, well, maybe don't bother that girl. She done lost her husband. Leave her alone. You know she's vulnerable. Don't do that to her because you know you don't care about her. All you want to do is see how it is, and she probably she probably too much for you, and then you're going to kick her to the curb. Leave her alone. So I'm glad I done stayed in the process of recovery enough just to leave people alone. It ain't that I don't want to do nothing now, believe me. You know, it ain't that I don't want to knock a newcomer off, all that crazy stuff, because I do. I want to do everything stupid that everybody else want to do. I want a good car, I want all that stuff like that, but it ain't going to serve me up spiritually. And I don't feel like walking around, oh, shit, how I do that, got to hide and all that stuff. I don't want to feel like that no more. And since I've been in recovery and ain't bothered nobody, I can't say I'm perfect. I know I'm not, but I ain't walking around feeling like a jackass. Ain't that a horrible feeling like a jackass, and you can't go and drink shit. You can. Like I said, maybe that's why people go in relapse, because they've done something they ain't no damn business doing, and now you got to try to hide from your damn self. That's, what you gonna do, stick your head up your ass, you can't even hide from yourself, try to work out or something, What we do, we miss meetings, don't show up no damn more, and then relapse. I don't want to be like that. Best thing I could do for the recovering addict, or the person that's still like, I got sisters. My mother said that girl drank all the damn time. I think she losing her mind. Talk to her, baby. Just tell the child something. I got a cousin. She crazy as hell. Nice looking girl. Come to the funeral, look like somebody's goddamn grandmama. Sent her daughter. You know what's dangerous? She sent her daughter with a 24-year-old. Her daughter is 16. Almost got raped over there on Jefferson and 7 Mile. Okay, Gratiot and 7 Mile not too long ago. And know what the little girl at? In Chicago with a 24-year-old girl. My cousin was raised in hell, but that's the dope. That's that, anyway. But what can I do? I stand there and I just try to raise my own damn children in the love of God and the way, you see what I'm saying? Just try to do the best I can, and maybe they can get something from that. Like you say, don't preach. Don't sit up there judging and pointing the finger, because my relatives will cuss your ass out, and they will ask you what the fuck you want to do, and half of them can whoop my ass, So I shut up. But they do need help, and the best thing I can do is I'm sorry. Damn. That's it for today, folks.